So the NBA is only a few days away from starting the 2024-2025 season. I know for some that's exciting times, for others, well, not so much. But as we know, every year ESPN does an NBA rank where they rank the top 100 NBA players going into a season. And this year is no different. Now, usually I slightly agree or I'm biased and I think one player is too low, too high, whatever. But they do a pretty good job of putting the guys where technically they range going into a certain season, as long as they're healthy, of course. So I thought, why not do a list on ChatGPT to see which one kind of aligns with my thinking going into the 2024-2025 season, and then see if you guys feel like ChatGPT or ESPN aligns with your thinking of the player placement going into the 2024 NBA season. Now, we know both have their flaws. ESPN is done by journalists and people that have their own opinions, but the thing about that is sometimes they have biases and other ways of thinking that can be flawed. The same with ChatGPT. They're looking at stats, but there's no emotion in it. So they're just kind of looking at the raw numbers and just raw data and using that to formulate where they place players. So both have their flaws. Some have their goods. So I'm just going to go through both lists and see which one aligns more with my taste and where these players rank currently in the NBA. Let's start with ESPN's top 10 going into the 2024-2025 season. At number 10, we have Anthony Edwards. Number 9, Kevin Durant. Number 8, Joel Embiid. Number 7, LeBron James. Number 6, Steph Curry. Number 5, Jason Tatum. Number 4, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Number 3, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Number 2, Luka Doncic. And number 1, Nikola Jokic. Very, very solid list. I mean, you can pretty much agree that most of those guys are in the top 10. The placement, well, that could be changed or rearranged for some. But let's look at what ChatGPT thinks about the players going into this upcoming season. At number 10, they have Stephen Curry. Number 9, Kevin Durant. Number 8, Jalen Brunson. Number 7, Jason Tatum. Number 6, Anthony Edwards. Number 5, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Number 4, Joel Embiid. Number 3, Luka Doncic. Number 2, Giannis Antetokounmpo. And number 1, Nikola Jokic. Now, I have to agree with both at number 1. Nikola Jokic has been the pinnacle of basketball for the past couple of seasons. He is the reigning MVP. For people that kind of downplayed Denver last season, they actually had a better record in 2024 than they did in their championship season. Of course, they kind of faltered in the playoffs. Couldn't make it out the second round, but for all intents and purposes, they met a team that they did not match up with well, and that actually got better from the season before. And even in the 2023 season, when they were the champions, Minnesota was the team I felt played them the best throughout that playoff runs. And of course, Jokic almost got that Serbian team into the gold medal games at the Olympics this year, so the guy is the best player in the world. So ESPN and ChatGPT pretty much rank him where he should be. And as we look, both rank the same players, just in different orders. The only difference, and I'm sure this will draw the ire of some fanboys, LeBron James is not on the ChatGPT list, while he's on the ESPN list, where, as I said, you have fellow journalists and people that do these rankings, whereas ChatGPT looks at the raw data and formulates what it thinks should be the top 10. On ChatGPT, LeBron James is replaced by Jalen Brunson, which I'm sure there's people out there that says there's no way Brunson is in the top 10. If you look at last season, what he did for that Knicks team as the guy, you could say was more impressive than what LeBron James did with a Lakers team with, I would say, at least a better Robin. You know, Brunson was, of course, the Batman. Well, Julius Randle for most of the season was the Robin. Unfortunately, was hurt and out. But as Batman, Brunson was able to continue their success. And most feel that had he not got injured and the Knicks didn't get the litany of injuries they got throughout that playoffs, they probably would have faced off against Boston, still would have lost, but they could have shown that they're right there in the mix as a potential championship team. And we can talk about, the trades they've made and the changes they've made, but we're not going to do that. That's not what we're here for. So that's the only difference between both lists as far as a player that didn't make one or the other. But for the most part, which list do I feel is more accurate as we enter the 2024-2025 season? And as I said, ChatGPT doesn't work with emotion. So they're not going to take into consideration things like health and guys that have shown that they may not have the ability to stay on the floor. Whereas the ESPN rank shows, where they think that these guys will be during the season and whether they'll be available, whether, there's certain aspects of their game that will or can come up that will keep them from being at that level as a player. So, of course, I'm talking a lot when I'm saying this about Joel Embiid, whereas ChatGPT has him ranked number 4. ESPN has him ranked at number 8. So the journalists and people that have voted for this and come up with this list feel that Joel Embiid isn't quite where he should be like he was last year because of the injuries he sustained last year and the fact that even now he's not playing all of the preseason. And of course, he's saying now he probably won't play back-to-backs at all going forward from this season on. So that kind of hurts his claim. So I feel like in that regard, ESPN captures where I would say Joel Embiid is going into this season. Anthony Edwards being 6th on ChatGPT's list and 10th on ESPN's list is to me a little egregious. The raw data says that Anthony Edwards is a top 6 guy, whereas emotion and feelings and things of that nature from ESPN side says he's just getting into that 10th spot. Still young. If I have to be, if it's me, I would lean a little more towards ESPN because I think Anthony Edwards, for as good as he is, I think this season, especially with the changes going on in Minnesota, will really be a season where we'll see if he's really the real deal because he's going to have to be. And they're going all in on him being the guy in Minnesota because he doesn't have Cat to kind of play off. And we saw at certain times in the playoffs, Ant-Man kind of shrink, especially on the offensive side. So now he's going to have to carry the load offensively a lot because Julius Randle is not Karl Anthony Towns. We know that. For as good as Julius is, he's a guy that can get you 20 on a nightly basis, but he's not a go-to guy. Even when he was on New York, he was great, but he was not that number one option. Another player that I feel, kind of got the shaft on the ChatGPT side was Shai Gilgeous. I mean, of course, on the ESPN, he's at 4. On ChatGPT, he's at 5. I have him easily ahead of Joel Embiid for the reason I gave earlier. So I feel like ESPN captured that a little better than ChatGPT. Steph and KD, I feel, should still be in that top 10. Which one do I think captured that more? I think ChatGPT put him closer to where I think he is, even though I still think Anthony Edwards is probably in that 10th spot. I think Steph would be a better 9 or 8 guy than he would be 6th in the ESPN ranking. So I don't think Steph should be that high or low, in my opinion. Pretty much everything else I'm cool with on both. This brings me to Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum on ESPN's list is 5th, whereas on ChatGPT, he's 7th. And even here, he's behind Anthony Edwards. And I think ChatGPT did him dirt. I probably agree more with ESPN's rank, where he is 5th. And I think that as much as we disrespect Jason Tatum, he's one of the very best in the NBA. Don't let last season fool you. He could have easily gotten the Finals MVP. Even the Eastern Conference Finals MVP or whatever they want to call that, he could have won that. He was one of the keys to that championship team. It's just hard when you have a team as well constructed as that Boston team, because everyone pretty much added to that team in a specific way, and no one really was above and beyond. It just felt like Jaylen Brown was a little more efficient, and Tatum was getting added a little more than Tatum was. And Tatum wasn't the most efficient guy, but he was there when they needed him offensively, and definitely there when they needed him defensively. So don't let that season fool you. He's still one of the best players in the NBA. I agree with ESPN's 5th spot a little more than I agree with ChatGPT's 7th spot. Now, the whole Jalen Brunson versus LeBron James. Which one do I agree with more? Should LeBron be in the top 10? Should Jalen Brunson be in the top 10? And you know what I'm going to say, because I'm not a huge LeBron fanboy. I'm going to say I like Jalen Brunson in the top 10, which ChatGPT gives us, whereas ESPN gives us LeBron James at number 7. He even has a better rank going into this season than he did last season, which he had a great season, but to me, he just does not impact that Laker team the same way other players impact their teams. His numbers are great, but his impact on their overall game is just not the same to me as someone like Brunson, who, without Brunson, I think they have absolutely no chance, the New York Knicks, especially last year. Without LeBron James, the Lakers still have a guy that some could put in the top 10, Anthony Davis, who was all NBA and all defensive team. So he's a guy that was getting it done on both sides. LeBron having that as his Robin as compared to Jalen Brunson having Julius Randle for like half the season as his Robin, and then a host of other guys that had to step up. That's why I would put him going into this season in the top 10 over LeBron James. You can hate it, you can love it, but that's just my feelings. So which list did I think was better? That's what we're here for. And despite me disagreeing with ESPN on LeBron being in their top 10 and the few other gripes I had about it, I actually think it's a better list. You know, ChatGPT, as I said, doesn't factor in certain things that will obviously play into this next season. The Joel Embiid stuff. ChatGPT not quite giving Luka flowers in this list and putting Giannis over him, whereas if you watched last season, obviously Luka to most was a better player than Giannis, and is probably going to be even better this year because of the makeup of his team, where Giannis, we're going to have some more questions about him because this will be 2 playoffs where he was not there, and are injuries playing a part in Giannis's legacy as he goes forward? Is he becoming an injury-prone top player, kind of like Joel Embiid, where he can get it done when he's out there, but if he's not there, it's hard to assess what where he should be. So I'm going to give ESPN's ranking the nod. I thought I would like ChatGPT's list better. I kind of like some of the order of ChatGPTs, but like I said, they don't factor in certain things that should be. So I think ESPN's is a little more accurate as far as how I feel, but that's just me. But what about you guys? Do you agree more with ESPN's rank or ChatGPT's rank as we go into the 2024-2025 NBA season? And are you excited about this upcoming season? Will this be another Boston Celtic dominant, or will we actually have some parity? And how will the tough Western Conference pan out? How will the Philadelphia Sixers pan out? How will year 2 of Dame and Giannis on the Bucks pan out? There's lots of storylines that will play out, and we're not even going to mention Bronny and LeBron in this video. I've spoken on that plenty, no more. So what do you guys think? Which ranking do you think is more accurate? Let me know in the comment section below, and if you made it this far, please like and subscribe to the channel. We're trying to grow. We're trying to hit that 2,000 subscribers goal. So please help us reach that. Thank you, and be back soon with more content.